Hi guys, Football-ManagerYouthDevelopment.co.uk here. In this episode I'm going to teach you about scouting knowledge. So obviously whenever you're managing a football club on Football Manager 2015, every single club will have its own set scouting knowledge. Now if you're not too familiar with how to get to that screen, say if you start from your home screen, you just simply click on the scouting screen here and then you can click on the knowledge screen, which is here. Now, just from the kind of off on this video, what I would say, your knowledge that you have here and the kind of percentage of your world knowledge, this will sort of have a direct influence of how many players that you can see on this particular screen here. So in your player search sort of screen. So good way to kind of like show you about this. So if I go back to my knowledge that I've got for my team, and then if I look at the regions, so one of my highest regions, I've got 68% scouting knowledge of Scandinavia. So then if I go back to all known players, and if I go to where the players are based, and then if I go to based and then in region, and then if I was to click on Scandinavia, you can see here that because of my knowledge of Scandinavia, I know of 225 players from that region. Now I'm only just managing Oxford at the moment, so I can only actually scout within the UK and Ireland, so I can't sort of actually scout players in Scandinavia at the moment. But you can see just because of the kind of things that I've used to help increase the knowledge that my sort of scouts or club has of certain regions and things like that, I am actually able to see sort of different players from different regions and nations and things like that. So that's a real important thing to remember just from the off. So obviously looking at the scouting knowledge screen here, you can see that it's split up into different sections. So you've got your regions bit at the top and your nations part at the bottom. Now if you haven't guessed already, the region percentage knowledge that you have is just made up of all the nations. So obviously sort of Norway, Denmark, they're obviously based in Scandinavia, and the percentage knowledge that we have of them nations will directly kind of correspond with the percentage knowledge that we have of the Scandinavia area. So when you're looking at this screen, there are a couple of sort of key ways to get knowledge of certain nations. Now if I look down this kind of area, you can see here that certain members of staff will have knowledge of different nations. So if I take this guy here, Bernard Lacquette, you can see here that he's from France, but he does have knowledge of Belgium and Spain. Now I'm using that knowledge that he has to sort of build up my overall scouting knowledge. Now this is a really good thing and a really good way of increasing your scouting knowledge. When you're looking for members of staff, just make sure that you're getting members of staff that have knowledge of sort of like a wide variety of areas. So you can see here this guy's got knowledge of Estonia, Norway, Russia, etc. And that's all added to our total percentage as well. That's the first way to just make sure that you're increasing your knowledge. So just look for staff with lots of different areas that they're familiar with, basically. You can see here going down the list as well. Now what I decided to do was bring in Alessandro Del Piero as my director of football. And you can see here that because he's got a really good sort of relationship with Pavel Nedved, he's going to have, as a result of that, basically I'm getting knowledge of the Czech Republic just through that relationship that he's got. So that's another way that it can always try and have a look at this, maybe just to sort of see if, you're not always going to be able to increase the amount of knowledge that you have, but it's certainly going to go a long way to maybe helping you. So we can see here that Del Piero's got knowledge of Argentina. So somewhere along the line, one of these guys is going to have pretty good knowledge of Argentina, I would imagine, and that's where he'll be getting that knowledge from. So there's another way of sort of increasing your knowledge. If you go to your club, and then what we want to have a look at is your affiliated clubs. Now obviously I'm just managing Oxford at the moment, so I've only got the kind of real basic affiliate clubs, but so I've only got ones in like England. But if I go to Southampton, for example, and then if I have a look at their affiliated clubs, so let's pick a good club. So yeah, if we take Swansea for an example, here we can see that Swansea have affiliated clubs in Holland, Ecuador, Bulgaria and Sweden, and Wales of course here. So what will basically happen if we were to be managing Swansea and we had a look at their knowledge screen, what you'd see here is that where we've got Wales here, their sort of knowledge of that area will be sort of given by that team that they've got as their affiliated club as well. So that's another really good way, and another kind of good thing to have a think about or to have a look at when you are getting an affiliated club. So if we have a look at this club here, Barcelona, let's have a look here. Not really too many good examples here, but basically the way it would work, if you if you like picked a club that has affiliated, like other affiliated clubs, basically you'd also gain their knowledge. So if you had if you yourself had an affiliated club that was based in France, you'd get that knowledge. And if that club in France had a link with, say, a German team, what can sometimes happen, you'd get knowledge of Germany through your affiliated club that you've got in France. So it's a real good sort of thing to have a look at just when you're picking an affiliated club. Just have a real quick look at how many clubs that they've got, and you may be able to get an additional sort of scouting knowledge of that area. So real good tip, guys, what I would suggest with scouting knowledge, and a way to kind of build it up quickly. So what you need to be doing is just making sure that your scouts are kept really busy. Now, what I've done, if you're watching this on YouTube, I've put a link to an article that I've created, but basically as part of that article, what I've decided to do is just show you sort of like a real quick way of kind of getting the ball rolling with scouting. So obviously, like I kind of made sort of reference to at the beginning of this episode, I've actually only got knowledge, well, I can only actually scout in the UK and Ireland. So I have actually done quite well to build my knowledge up to 20%, just based upon only being able to scout in this really sort of low, I can only scout in one region basically. So what I would advise, and the best way to get the ball rolling if you are at a lower league club, so what you need to be doing, if you go to your staff menu and then go to staff search, you're basically going to want to look for any, so if you go to nationality and then just put nationality is not, and then I'd select the region UK and Irish. Now what I've basically done here, because I have got kind of information on different knowledges and things like this, information on different like nations and stuff, I've got a lot more that are going to be popping up just in my sort of searches here. But you can create basically like a custom screen. So what I've done here, I've got a custom screen here. So I've got their first nationality, their second nationality, their preferred job, what club they're at the moment, their club job, and their preferred job as well. So I'm just going to show you a little tip in a minute as to, real good way of sort of finding loads of decent sort of members of staff with a lot of knowledge basically. But as you can see here, it's always a good idea to have a look at the second nationality of players. So if I have a look at Julian Speroni, and if I go to his staff attributes, you can see here that although he is Argentinian, and with his second nationality of being Italian, basically he has got knowledge of that area. So you can see that's a real good sort of way of making sure that you're getting a lot of knowledge. Now, real good tip, guys, just to what I do at the end of every year. So I'm having a look here. I'll get rid of the realistic ones just so I can kind of bring up a lot more players. But you can see here that due to all the sort of scouting knowledge that I have, I can see over 1,256 staff that I'd be able to pick from that are not based in the UK and Ireland. So at the end of every season, what I would do, you can sort it by club job here. And so all these people at the top here, they're actually players at the moment. And so what a really good thing to do is, so if you were to click through, so Club Brugge, they're obviously based in Belgium. So this guy here, Fernando, we can see here that his first nationality is Brazilian, his second nationality is Italian, and he's been playing his football in Belgium. So with that in mind, if we have a look at this guy's staff attributes, we can see here that he's because he's got his first nationality of Brazilian, He's been playing his football in Belgium, so he's got full knowledge of that nation. And I can't remember the last bit. He's also Italian as well. So we can see here that he's got really, really good knowledge of Italy. Now, you can see here just by that simple kind of step that I took there, I've picked a guy that knows full knowledge of 5 nations. So if I was to go to this guy's history, we can also see that he did play his football in Saudi Arabia, which is, although a little bit random, it's good for us because as he's got full knowledge of that nation. Now, this guy's still playing his football at the moment, but what you would be able to do is just pick him up once he's playing days are over, and you already know that you're picking up a guy that's got full knowledge of 5 nations. Now, you can just do this, like, just go right through the list, any player that's got sort of like mixed nationalities. So Verona, obviously playing in Italy. So this guy is Tunisian, but his second nationality is Swiss, playing his football in Italy. And if I again go to his staff attributes, so we've got full knowledge of Tunisia, full knowledge of Switzerland, and we've also got full knowledge of Italy. Now, because this guy's from, how do I put it, quite an obscure kind of footballing nation, you can see here, look how much knowledge this guy's got of just like random other little countries as well. So somewhere in his kind of playing days, he must have kind of played around there, like African kind of area. But this guy, you can see here, he's got so much scouting knowledge of like loads of different nations, and this is like a real quick way and a real good way of just increasing your scouting knowledge just real quickly. I mean, if you don't kind of pick up on these players here that are going to be sort of turning into coaches and things soon, then obviously a real good way is to just make sure that you've got your own separate screen so you can see the nationality and the second nationality, because that's obviously like a real good way of just sort of seeing, you know, you do know, like this guy here, we know that he's going to have full knowledge of Togo and France. So yeah, if you go to that, and then we can see France and Togo. So you know that with the second nationality, that's really going to help you sort of increase your sort of knowledge basically. So where's this? So yeah, this guy would be a perfect example again as well. So this club's based in Belgium. He's from the Ukraine and from Sweden. So yeah, if you look at his staff attributes, you've got Belgium, Spain, Sweden, Brazil, Uruguay, and also Paraguay's chucked in there as well, just for good measure. So yeah, you can see how quickly you can get the ball rolling with this scouting knowledge, and how to increase it really quickly. So yeah, I hope that would help you guys. Just sort of a real quick way of sort of increasing it. Obviously, good thing to do as well when you have lots of scouts. I've made reference to this in my sort of article that I've written on my website, but a real good thing to do. So say, for example, I've got 4 scouts here. What I would be doing with these 4 scouts, if we just pretend for now that I can actually scout anywhere in the world, what I would be doing, so this scout is from Norway, but he does have good knowledge of like Denmark. You can see look at the amount of basically guys, just using that sort of method that I just showed you there, look at the knowledge this guy's got of all these different nations. And this guy was just playing football like last season. I just picked him up like at the end of last season. You can see how much like knowledge we're just getting here. Just through that simple method that I showed you there. So with this scout, what I do, because he's got knowledge of Norway, what I'd also do is get him to scout 2 other nations. Now, it's a really good idea because he is from Norway. He's going to always probably keep that knowledge of Norway. He's got knowledge of France, but he doesn't have knowledge of, say, a country like Spain, for example. So what I would recommend you do, you get them to scout the country that they're from. So get him to scout Norway. I'd get him to scout a bigger nation, say Spain, for example. Now, when you do scout a bigger nation, it's going to obviously take a little bit more time to get that knowledge of that country. So I'd be picking Norway, Spain, and then maybe if you pick like a little bit of a smaller nation that doesn't take too long to scout, say like Portugal. So that scout would only be sort of scouting in them 3 regions. So yeah, we'd have like Norway, Spain, and Portugal. And if we pretend we're a club that has, say, 20 scouts, for example, and you rolled that kind of idea out throughout loads and loads of nations, scouting nations, what you'd end up with is all your 20 scouts scouting 3 nations, and their knowledge of them 3 nations is going to be really high all the time. One, because the kind of key nation they're always going to have knowledge of. Secondly, the kind of bigger nation, if you like, they're going to always have good knowledge of that nation. And the third nation, this sort of smaller nation, in this example, Portugal, they're always going to be kind of up to date on their scouting of that nation, because it just wouldn't take that long to scout that nation. Now, if you roll that out, so yeah, 20 scouts scouting 3 nations each, you're looking at about 20 nations here. So that'd be a real quick way, just to ensure, and it's something that I'm going to be doing once this club's a lot bigger. So yeah, once I kind of work out the amount of scouts that I can have, I'm just going to be picking, just give each of my scouts just sort of certain nations to work on, and then after a while, what you'll find, that's going to be like a real good and quick way to increase our scouting knowledge and just make sure that it's as high as possible. And also another good thing just to bear in mind, guys, just while I'm kind of giving you little tips on this. So, like I said earlier, because that guy does have good knowledge of Norway, we could probably even just let him scout somewhere like Denmark or somewhere like that. He's probably never going to lose his knowledge of Norway. So what we could potentially do is just give him like a 4th nation. So we could get him to scout Norway, Spain, Portugal, and Denmark, just as an example. But you can see, like, kind of rolling that philosophy and idea out just throughout all your scouts and things like that. You can see how quickly we could build our scouting knowledge. And like I said at the beginning, remember that your scouting knowledge has a direct result of how many people or players that you will see in your scouting range. And another, with like your scouting knowledge as well, it's really important that you do have good scouting knowledge, because when you get your like youth intakes through for every year, you'll see through, maybe I might start seeing some kids from Belgium or France or Germany coming into my youth academy just because I've got good knowledge of them areas. And eventually what will happen, because I've got good knowledge of them areas, if I've got the kind of facilities and stuff, to be able to have sort of kids from different nations come into my academy, then I'm slowly going to be increasing and getting sort of better youth players from different countries and things as well. So you can see how important it is to make sure your scouting knowledge is as high as possible. So I think that about covers everything just on scouting knowledge. I hope it's kind of like really helped you guys out, just the sort of things I've discussed here. And I know I've given sort of quite a few tips and things in this video, so yeah, hopefully you'll find them helpful as well. Obviously, any questions, please do either put them on YouTube or on my website. As I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, then I'm going to have a link to my article on my website, so you can have a quick read of that as well. But yeah, thanks for watching this one anyway, guys.